Perfect. Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's session, SEO Link Building 101, Building Authority Through Backlinks. My name is Daniel Anzuato, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's session. If this is your first time attending one of our workshops, let me provide some context on StartOut. At StartOut, our mission is to increase opportunity and success for LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. Our core programs are focused on LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs and allies looking to build high growth, scalable businesses, companies with potential to grow rapidly, reach broad markets, and attract outside investment. Whether you're already scaling, actively working towards growth, or just getting started, StartOut offers the resources, community, and connections to help you accelerate your impact. With that in mind, I'm excited to introduce our host for today's session, Ryan Ward from Rex Marketing and CX. The floor is yours, Ryan.
Cool. Thanks so much, Danny. Yeah, and thank you everyone for attending. Today we'll be talking about SEO link building. So just to jump in and give a little background about myself, I'm based in Austin. I'm a two-time founder, was previously the founder of an ed tech company, exited in 2021, and am now the co-founder of Rex Marketing and CX. I come from a growth marketing and SEO background. I've worked extensively in the healthcare, startup space, education space. I've come from a number of different companies where I've led growth initiatives for these various industries. A little bit about what we do at Rex Marketing and CX to give you some background. We work exclusively with early stage companies and startups, mainly in the consumer healthcare space, but work with a number of different industries as well. We focus in the areas of SEO, content marketing, design, marketing operations, sales operations, and can work with really any budget. Services starting as low as $300, depending on what we're doing. But that's just a little context and background on myself and what we do. But just to jump straight into the content of why you're here today, we're going to be looking at today just basics of what is off-page SEO, backlinks, and explaining what those even mean. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you're just getting started. Looking at the qualities of a linkable site, so how to improve the quality of your website to increase your backlinks. Going to look at ongoing strategies to increase your backlinks. Tech stack that I recommend for you to be successful in your backlink outreach strategy, measuring success, and then common mistakes to look for when you're approaching backlinking and link building for your brand. But just to go ahead and jump in, so we're going to start with just the basics, just to set the stage of off-page SEO. So off-page SEO relates to activities done off of your website in an effort to increase your search rankings. So these are things that are happening off of your actual website. So you may have heard of the term on-page SEO, which relates to like the content on your website, the structure of your website, things that are on your domain, whereas off-page SEO is everything off of your domain. That improves your organic performance and your search performance. Off-page SEO is made up of a number of factors, but the main things to call out is number one, backlinks. I'd say this is like the number one component of off-page SEO performance, which is what we'll be focusing on today. Just to introduce the other ideas, we're not going to talk about them really much at all today in this conversation, but also brand signals and EAT. So just to give you a brief understanding of what those are, so you have the knowledge and context. Brand signals are mentions of your website off of your website. So brand signals typically involve, like, if you're mentioned in social media posts, if you're mentioned in any sort of press, but you're not linked, but your brand name coming up on other places on the internet. Those are brand signals. Those aren't necessarily backlinks because these don't have to necessarily be links to your website. These are just like mentions of your brand, someone mentioning you on a social media platform, so on and so forth. EAT, that stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So these are factors that go towards, first off, establishing your expertise in the space for whatever you're creating content in, whatever your company does. Authority, again, goes towards how authoritative your information is, how authoritative your content is. And then trustworthiness is how reputable is this content. Do you have a subject matter expert writing this content? Do you have like research backing it up? All these are things that take place off of your website that help establish your search engine performance. So, like, for example, When it comes to people mentioning your brand, that helps improve your authority or trustworthiness of your website. Again, these are things that happen off of your main website. And just to call out the importance of backlinks as a whole for your SEO performance, in a study by backlink.io, the number one result in Google has an average of almost 4 times more backlinks than 2 through 10. And that's just to call out just how important backlinks are, especially when you're in that first page of search. That's how you're going to be able to really jump from place 4 to place 2 to place 1, is prioritizing backlinks for your website and for your content that you're trying to rank. So now we kind of just set the stage of what off-page SEO even is. We're going to be focusing our conversation today on backlinks and how to generate them, what they are. And so first, backlinks are when other domains link to your website. So this is, say, for example, someone references a blog piece and their own content. Maybe someone links to your homepage, they link to your product page. Whatever the case may be, these are links other places on the internet that point to your website. When it comes to backlinks, quality is more important than quantity. So, obviously quantity is something you want to shoot for, but you don't want to just have poor quality backlinks. You want to make sure that they have context and they're contextual to what your offering is and what your product is or your website is. So really, we want to focus on getting high quality backlinks to our website because that's going to be better than lower quality but high quantity. When it comes to earning backlinks, there's a number of strategies that you can go about for earning new backlinks for your website. We're going to go through each of these later in the presentation to further break down the techniques and tactics of how to generate backlinks. But just to introduce the ideas here, first off, is number one key, what you should always be doing is creating informative content that could be referenced. So what I mean by this is creating content on your website, in your blog, on your wherever your content hub on your website that is informative, is valuable, that people would want to reference in their own websites or their own content. Broken link building, we'll talk about this, but this is getting linked on places on the internet where there are broken links currently. So getting your link in place and of replacing the broken link. Incorporating long form content in your blog. This is another kind of goes to the point of creating valuable content. Informative long form content is often more referenceable than shorter form content that has less information or less text on the page. And then strategic guest blog posting. This is another route to go as well to generate some backlinks, is through guest posting, creating content for other places on the internet that could then reference and backlink to your website. And we're going to talk about all of these and some more later in the presentation, but these are just some strategies to approach that you can take to an approach for earning backlinks. So we can't talk about backlinks without first talking about do follow versus no follow backlinks. You may have heard of these before, or maybe this is your first time hearing them. But when it comes to backlinks, there are these two types. Do follow backlinks are like the golden ticket. That's what we really want. That's what we should be aiming for. Do follow backlinks and no follow backlinks. What the difference is between these is whenever someone inputs a link on their website, they can determine and set a link as do follow, which means that they want Google to crawl their page and continue crawling to that other outsourced external website, aka your website. So that's signaling, a do follow link signals to Google crawlers that, hey, you're on our website, let's say, for example, HubSpot.com. We want to link, we have a link to an external website, your website, whatever it may be. And we want you to go through and follow and continue scraping all the way to that other website. That basically forms a connection between you and the linking website, which improves and shares some of their, for lack of better terms, like link juice, so to speak, from their website to your website. When it comes to no follow, what that means is that someone who inputs a backlink onto their website, they link or they set your link as a no follow. That informs Google to, hey, you can crawl our website, but when you get to this external link, don't crawl it, don't connect us to it, don't link us to that external website. So as I'm sure you could imagine, do follow links are what you want to be aiming for. This is what's connecting you to these external brands and these external domains to help improve and share some of the link juice to your website. And they have a much larger impact on your SEO performance. When it comes to no follow backlinks, I will say they're they have a lower impact on your SEO performance, but they're not worthless. They do still make a difference in your performance. It's just that they're, let's say it's and this isn't a scientific ratio at all, but it's a difference of like say 1 to 100. Say that do follow adds 100 points to your SEO, a no follow adds 1 point to your SEO. So having a large volume of no follow links does help your SEO performance, but a low quantity of no follow have a very low impact on your SEO. So that being said, we want to be shooting for do follow links. However, if you are generating no follow backlinks, it does help. You just want to, that's really where quantity comes into play. It's having a larger quantity of no follow to have the same type of impact that a single do follow link has. So it's looking at qualities of a linkable website. So the biggest thing we want to consider is when we're thinking about our website and our content, we want to make sure that our website comes off professional and high quality. Obviously, if someone wants to reference a piece of content or reference your website, they're going to go to your website and they want to make sure that this looks like a trustworthy, authoritative website. If it looks, I'm sure we've all seen those like blog farms in the internet where it's just like a website with a bunch of low quality content or a low quality posts, maybe has very outdated branding. It just doesn't look high quality. Where people are much less likely to link to a website like that versus a website that has a solid brand, appears high quality. It doesn't seem like just a fly by night content hub on the internet. So that being said, it is important to consider your UX and your design of your website overall when it comes to backlink strategy. I'd say you'd want to address that first before you even approach backlinking strategy as a potential strategy for your SEO. Because if you're doing outreach to external websites or to other brands and they go to your website and they're not impressed or it comes off negatively or appears low quality, they're much less likely to engage with you than say a website that comes off very professional. So just a couple key things to call out just to help to ensure you have a high quality appearing website. Make sure you have clean site structure and navigation. So making it easy to access all of your pages, all of your content from your main navigation. Make sure that you're producing content that's high quality. I've already mentioned this, but this is the biggest thing to hit home when it comes to SEO and content strategy is producing content that introduces value to the internet. There's so much content online nowadays, and just in general, that you want to make sure that you're trying to add value, trying to answer a question, trying to produce high quality content. Anybody can go onto ChatGPT and generate a blog post and post it on the internet. That's not high quality. That's not high value for a potential reader. It's really important to take that extra step to make sure you're putting something that you're proud of out there and putting on your website. Ensure that you have a strong technical foundation for your website. And the biggest things I'd say speaking of technical performance, the main things to consider are site speed and your mobile responsiveness. These are the most critical when it comes to like doing backlink outreach or link building strategies. The reason I say this is that if someone tries to go to your website and the website takes forever to load, or there's a lag in the page loading time, they're going to probably navigate away, or they're going to think, oh, this website's not maintained or it's outdated. Additionally, mobile responsiveness is a huge thing to consider. If someone tries to go to your mobile version of your blog or your website or whatever the case may be, and it's not mobile responsive, they can't read the content easily, it's not optimized for a phone screen, that is not a good user experience. And also, too, people don't want to link to a website that isn't accessible for people on a mobile phone. I mean, nowadays, I believe the figure is like 87%. Last time I looked, of searches are done on mobile phone screens versus desktop screens. So you really want to make sure that you're focusing on making sure your mobile performance and your mobile responsiveness are in a good place before looking at link building for your brand. Um, and then also to just from a design and aesthetics perspective, make sure that you're making sure your website appears to be high quality, has solid branding, has a color scheme that's easy to approach and easy to read, no crazy neon colors, things like that. That appear makes your website appear lower quality. And again, is less likely to be referenced than a website that appears to be high quality, high aesthetics, high branding. Now, so these are kind of just setting the foundation of what is off-page SEO, what are backlinks, why do they matter, how to kind of set the foundation for your website to be in a place to start thinking about backlinking strategy for your SEO strategy. So looking at first off, how do we go about generating these backlinks? First off, I mentioned this earlier, but guest posting. So contributing content to another website or blog in exchange for a backlink can be a great method. And truthfully, it can be time consuming to try to generate content and find these opportunities for guest blogs and etc. However, these are usually high quality and high authority backlinks. The backlinks will also be contextual. And what I mean by when I say contextual, that means that the backlink is going to that you're putting in this blog post is going to be highly relevant to the content that it's around. Whenever Google's crawling content and identifying backlinks, they're also analyzing the text around the backlink. And so by having a backlink around other content that makes it contextual, that also signals to Google this is a high quality backlink. And that makes a difference in determining what sort of impact it's going to have on your performance and on your domain authority. So first off, how do you go about doing this and finding these opportunities? I have a list of steps here that hopefully you can post this a conversation. You can take this and run with it and try to do it yourself. First off, you want to identify blogs in your niche that have real readership, have real traffic. When it comes to finding these opportunities, I recommend going to Google search and looking for things like searching for like Write for Us, guest blog opportunities, guest writing, things like that. This is the actual search that you'd want to put into Google search. If you've never done a Boolean search within Google before, this is the way you'd want to do it. You'd want to include the quotation marks for Write for Us. That will make sure that Google is identifying search results that include that in their title or their meta description for the content. So you're going to include that in quotations. And then you're going to also want to include your topic. So what are you writing about? What are you trying to write a guest post about? That's related to your brand, your product, your website. And so you'd go through and do a search similar to this. And you can get creative versus the Write for Us. Like I said, guest blogging, so on and so forth. You can play with it a bit to try to find the most opportunities. But once you identify those opportunities, that's when you're going to want to go through and read. Whenever you're doing guest blog posting, the reason it takes so much time and can be a bit of a headache is that each brand and each website that you write for is going to have their own criteria of what they're looking for. So they may have certain word count requirements, they may have certain topic requirements, they might have, a certain format they want you to follow for their website. So it can be a bit nitpicky with for creating a piece for each guest post. But again, this is for contextual and high authority backlinks. So it is worth it in the end. You want to make sure that when you create this content for these websites, they're going to be making sure that the content is high value and generally speaking, non-promotional. And so you're not going to want to create a blog, you're not going to be able to expect to get a blog post submitted that and approved that just like talks about how great your company is, how great your product is. It needs to be industry related. And the trick is trying to think of a content or a topic for the content that relates to your product and relates to the impact your product has in the space. So again, producing high value content that's non-promotional. A lot of these websites that offer guest blogging, they are going to run your post through an AI checker. So don't just try to go to ChatGPT and crank out a blog post. You can, excuse me, you can use it to help with the ideation phase or pieces of the writing. But if you just use AI to create a blog post for this, it's going to get flagged and it's not going to get approved and it's going to be a waste of your time. Ideally, you want to make sure that the website you're writing the guest blog post for allows you to include a backlink. They'll usually stipulate like you can include one backlink to your website, or you can get a backlink in the bio of the author bio on the blog post. I'd say that generally, in my opinion, if a guest post mentions in their criteria that they do not allow a backlink to your website, I'd skip it. And I have seen that where there are websites out there that allow guest posting, but they don't allow a backlink. And truthfully, there's other opportunities out there that I would just skip it and move on to find another opportunity that allows to have a backlink to your website. Now, looking at next strategy is broken link building. So a broken link or a dead link is a place on the internet where someone has a backlink, but it's now the page is maybe changed, the URL is changed, the website's no longer around, and it's taken to a 404 page or I'm sure we all have seen this, or a page that no longer exists on the internet. So first off, when it comes to just speak about broken links or on the internet, any website that has links to broken links. So let's say, for example, you have a blog post that has a broken link within it, that actually hurts your SEO performance. So it's advantageous for a brand to ensure that they don't have broken links on their website. If a brand has broken links on their website, it actually hurts their own SEO performance. So that being said, whenever there are broken links on a website, they want to get those replaced. They want to get a appropriate link on the website and to replace that broken one so that they're not hurting their own SEO performance. That's why broken link building can be such a great strategy for link building, because you're going to be basically reaching out to brands that have a broken link on their content or their website, and you're going to say, hey, I saw that you have a broken link on blog post X. I'm sure you know that that can hurt your SEO performance. I have another resource that you can link to if you'd like to include this in your blog post to fix the broken link. A lot of the times there will be two options. They'll either go to try to fix the broken link themselves with like trying to find the new link for the past content they had there, or they're going to say, oh, thanks so much, I'm going to go through and fix this. This is a lifesaver for me, especially someone who like is focused on SEO or a brand that's focused on SEO. You're basically helping them by helping them easily find a new link to replace the broken link on their website. So that's the concept of broken link building. So how you go about actually doing it, you can use tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush. Both of these are SEO tools that I highly recommend checking out. There's also a Chrome extension called Check My Links, where you can find broken outbound links on pages. So you can you can search for broken links using these tools. You'll want to ensure that the content that you're wanting to get linked on that to replace that broken link is relevant to the content. So if you already have some sort of similar content or a study or a blog post, something that's relevant to the type of post that you're trying to do outreach to, you're going to make sure that you have that already lined up to do this outreach. So a trick here is if you have a piece of content that you want to generate links for, go through and search for tangential or relevant content on the internet that this piece or that this study or whatever it may be can be used as a reference for, and go through and check those pages for broken links. That way, it's relevant to the other page that you're trying to get your link on. And then it's just good old fashioned email at that point. You're gonna reach out to the site owner, someone at the website, someone on the marketing team, and you're gonna give them a heads up. Hey, like I just mentioned earlier, hey, I saw that you have a broken link on your on this page. I know I'm sure you're aware that this can hurt your performance. We have a piece of content that can replace that link if you'd like to use it as reference. And that's basically it. There can be a bit of back and forth conversation just to establish the relationship at first. But like I said, you're really doing this person a favor by making their life easier by giving them a link to replace the broken link with. So that's typically that's the step-by-step process of how you go about doing this. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to creating content in your content strategy, it's all about truthfully creating high value content. You shouldn't just be trying to crank out content just to have it. When I say high value content, this can be content that's backed by data, research, thought leadership, infographics. These will naturally attract backlinks over time. So one of the things I'd say too is data is really what can generate a lot of links. So if you have any sort of case studies, surveys, reports, benchmarks or trends for a space, those things can often be referenced pretty often. And so I'd say if you're thinking about trying to what kind of high quality content you can create, I'd say that you focus on those types of pieces to help with generating backlinks organically. Once you say you have a piece of high value content, you can also promote this content to relevant reporters, relevant sources, places that would want to reference this content. You can submit to like industry newsletters in your space, niche communities, but you can self-promote this content pretty easily and can be referenced, especially if it's data that pertains to that brand or that reporter, that newsletter. So that's the trick there, is creating content that's relevant to these different sources you'd be promoting it to. Another tactic is Haro or help a reporter out. So Haro, if you haven't heard of it before, is a free platform that connects journalists with expert services or sources. And so basically how it works is you sign up for a Haro account or a help a reporter account. And how it works is you will list your niches of things you specialize in or categories that you can be referenced in or have expertise in. And then when reporters are looking for individuals to give a quote or give a testimonial or speak to their experience, they will post a synopsis basically of what they're writing. So it'll be a very quick like snippet of, I'm creating a piece about X. I'm looking for people who have experience in Y. Submit a pitch if this fits your background. So the trick here is like it can be a bit about like pulling teeth to get a Haro feature because it is a competitive space. I mean, just as we're talking about it today, there's a number of people who are promoting this as an opportunity for backlinks and are using it on a daily basis. The trick is to respond quickly with expert insights into why they should want to have your expertise in the piece that they're writing. And I'd say you really want to focus on that pitch of who are you, what's your background, what value can you bring to the conversation. It does take time because it is something you have to monitor and try to, keep tabs on to and see when there are opportunities that fit your niche. And it is competitive because there are other people on the platform. But this is some ways that you can get a feature in Forbes and Esquire and in really any sort of like large media brand. A lot of the reporters go to Haro to look for quotes or testimonials because it's an easier way for them to find someone to reference for their pieces. So this is also a way to find some like little golden nuggets in these large press pieces in these large media companies without having to work through a PR company. And then resource page link building. So another tactic is also looking at getting your product or your website listed as a resource or a recommended tool in your niche. So I'm sure we've all seen this. If someone's looking for like if someone's working with a marketing consultant and a marketing consultant on their website has a list of tools they recommend. This is just like one example, but there are places on the internet where people will recommend their suite of tools or resources that they'd want someone to use. So how you can go about finding these opportunities is similar to how we looked for guest blog posts, going through site searches like resources in quotations plus topic or helpful links in quotations plus your niche. These will point you in the right direction of opportunities. And then, like going back to how we did it previously with broken link building, you're going to just do email outreach. So you're going to want to pitch your page, your tool, your resource as something their audience would find valuable and why they find it valuable. The trick here is to personalize the email, mention something specific about the audience or the brand they work with, and also too, why are you valuable? Why would they want to consider your tool? If you're working with an individual for this outreach, like if you're doing outreach to an individual, like consultant or something like that, another trick that I've seen work is actually offering a free trial or a free license of your tool or software or your product, or like whatever a sample, something along those lines, so they can also understand what it is you do and why you're valuable. They're going to want to make sure that if they're recommending you to their audience, they're going to make sure that you're a high quality product and they actually believe in what you're doing. So that's another thing to mention when you're doing the email outreach, is to offer something in return, a free trial, a sample, something along those lines. So these are just some tactics to go about building backlinks for your website. And you might be wondering, okay, I want to do these things, but what do I need to have in place to actually go about approaching this strategy for my company and for my SEO performance? So when it comes to your tech stack and your toolbox of tools you'll need, I mentioned these earlier, but you'll want to have a SEO reporting tool or an SEO tool in place. The ones I usually recommend, as they're kind of the gold standard in the space, is Ahrefs, SEMrush. Another one that's cost effective is Screaming Frog. You may have heard of that one. But you want to have one of these types of tools in place so that you know how things are performing. You can track your backlink performance. You can see your backlinks grow over time. You can track your domain authority. All these things that are important can be done within these tools. So if you're thinking about introducing backlinking strategy as part of your SEO strategy, you want to have one of these tools in place to make it make sense. Next thing you'll want to have in place is some sort of outreach tool. So, and when I say outreach tool, as I mentioned, you'll want to be doing email outreach to these writers, these websites, these resource pages. And to make your life easier, you want to have some tool in place to where you can find the emails of these people faster and quicker. If you don't have one of these tools, you're going to be basically hunting through weeds on their website to try to find out, or going on LinkedIn to try to find like what their information is, or try to get in contact with them. So the tools that I recommend for doing this type of outreach and finding these contacts and their email information, and there's a number of them out there, but the ones that I've used and personally recommend, Hunter.io. It's pretty cost effective if you're looking for a tool to find emails. BuzzStream, it's a really great tool. It actually is focused on link building and PR work. So would highly recommend that if you're looking for a tool that's kind of a one and all solution. Similar to that, Pitchbox is another PR building tool that has a lot of features that are geared towards link building specifically. Hunter.io can also be used for sales, so it's a little bit different than those two. And similar, Apollo. Apollo is a great tool. Apollo actually has their own emailing software within its platform. So you not only can you do the research to find the emails, but you can also do the email outreach within their platform. It also has more of a sales focus. So if you're looking for a tool that can double for marketing and sales work, then I'd recommend Apollo as well. But if you're going to approach backlinking as a strategy for your company, you want to make sure you have the right tools in place. And so I'd recommend, again, having some sort of SEO tool in place and this outreach tool, it's going to make your efforts that much more effective, and have a better success rate by using these. Whenever we've mentioned email outreach, so when we look at, and this is just a simple template to give you an idea of how you'd want to create an email. Again, the trick is when you're coming to email, when you're doing email outreach, is you're going to want to make sure it's personalized. You want to make sure that it is referencing that brand. People can read a piece of text and understand if it was just AI generated or just cookie cutter copy and pasted. So if you're doing this effectively, you want to make sure you're taking the time to customize and personalize your messaging. But as you can see here in this example, we're using personalization for their blog name. So we're mentioning their blog, that for the actual brand we're doing outreach to. We're personalizing with their first name. We're mentioning the article title. I noticed you linked to a resource blank. So you're, again, referencing a number of pieces that are highly custom to the person you're doing the outreach for. And this email example, we're actually pushing something that we created around stats and visual, like data that I had mentioned previously. So say we have a data piece or a survey or infographic, something like that. You're going to be pushing. This is an example of how you could promote that piece to outside sources. So as you can see here, if you're ever updating that post or writing something similar, I'd love for you to check it out. And then you're obviously giving a nice little pat on the back to them of your blog as a go-to resource for me. So one thing I'll say with this type of outreach is volume is key. So as I'm sure you can imagine from this email example, if we're doing this outreach, other brands on the internet are also doing this type of outreach. So it really is a numbers game when it comes down to backlink outreach. You're going to try to reach out to as many places as possible and make the messages as personalized as possible to have the best opportunity to perform well and to generate new backlinks. It really is a matter of volume, because as we're doing this outreach to generate backlinks, other companies are doing the same thing. And it's just a matter of time and a matter of volume until we get to the right person to where we actually start generating those backlinks. So looking at success. So how do you know if this is working? Is it worth your time? What sort of impact is it going to have on your website, and how to know if it's having an impact on your website? So the main KPIs you want to be looking for when it comes to link building, first off, is your domain rating or your domain authority. We haven't really spoken about this yet, but so you may have heard of this when you're analyzing your own website. Your domain authority and your domain rating, or your domain rating, this is a figure that is determined on how authoritative and credible your website is. The number of backlinks you have directly impacts your domain authority and makes your website more authoritative and appear more authoritative to Google search over time. So you're going to want, if you're generating new backlinks, you're going to want to ensure that your domain rating, your domain authority is increasing over time. I will say that the changes are going to be very incremental. It does take a lot of time and a volume of backlinks before you really start to see the impact of your domain authority changing. And it's not going to change immediately. It's going to be over the course of, really truthfully, months that you start to see the impact of your domain authority increasing as you approach backlinks and generate new backlinks. But improving your domain rating or your domain authority is one of the biggest factors that can go towards improving your organic performance and bringing your rankings up in search results. You'll also want to look at your volume of referring domains. Referring domains relate to the volume of other websites on the internet that link to your website. So let's say, for example, you have a link from Forbes and you have a link from New York Times. That would be two different referring domains. So you want to prioritize getting new links from new domains. I'd say that, it is okay if you do get, say, 5 links from a website from a single domain. That's still good. That's still a good increase in backlink volume. However, it's actually more advantageous to get backlinks from several different domains. So let's say if you had 5 backlinks from a single website or 1 backlink from 5 separate websites, generally speaking, it depends on the domain authority of the referring website, but it's generally better to get the five backlinks from five different websites versus 5 links from a single website. Once you get a link from one website, it's kind of like a checkbox where, okay, we got it, we've secured that domain, let's go on to the next one. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about it in that regard as well, trying to get as many domains as possible and different domains as possible to rank to your website. When it comes to looking within Google Analytics, you're going to want to make sure that you have an understanding of your organic traffic and from what their link sources are. So you should, first off, overall, you should be seeing your organic traffic increasing if you're prioritizing backlinking. That should be happening over the course of time as you build up your backlink performance and in turn improve your domain authority. However, you also want to be understanding of which link sources are generating the most traffic. That can also be informative to tell you, hey, this is the type of website we should be linking to, we should be getting backlinks from more often versus other ones. So really understanding, okay, we're generating this organic traffic, but where is it coming from on the internet? Is it from website X? Is it from website Y, website Z? And then let's say, for example, website Y is generating the most organic traffic across all of our backlinks. Let's understand why is that one generating the most traffic and generating the most organic traffic, or why are the other ones not? That can help determine what we want to prioritize in terms of future backlink outreach and the type of content we want to be trying to do outreach for to get new backlinks. And then finally, looking at keyword rankings. So in turn, as we're improving our domain authority, we should start to see our keyword rankings increasing as well. So to see the impact of that, and this won't happen overnight, but we should start to see our rankings crawling up in search results as our domain authority improves. So we want to make sure we have a handle, and having a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs in place is a great way to track your positioning, your keyword positioning, and understand what you're ranking for currently. But you want to make sure you're seeing that climb as we're doing this type of backlink outreach to make sure it's a good use of our time and a good use of our resources. And then finally, just some common mistakes that I often see when it comes to backlink outreach and backlink strategy. The more is better mindset is not the way to think about it. Quality of your links is better than sheer quantity. And I've said this a few times now, so probably explains why it's so important. You really want to focus on producing high value content that's can be referenced. And then once you create the content, the backlinks will come. So I'd say prioritize quality. And then over time, as you produce more quality content, you're going to just naturally start to improve quantity of backlinks because you're going to be referenced more often because people like the value of your content and what it brings to the table. A big mistake I often see with early brands and small companies is thinking they can just kind of shortcut this and buy links. I'm sure you get outreach from, because I do it all, I get cold outreach from people all the time saying, hey, are you looking for backlinks for your website? I'll sell them to you for $250 or $500 or whatever the case may be. Avoid these at all costs. It can really be a big mistake early on, and it can do a lot more harm than good. Google is Google. Like they are smart. They understand that people do this, and they also penalize your brand if they find that you are buying links and buying backlinks. Once your domain is blacklisted or marked as being uncredible, not credible, as in buying backlinks, etc., it can be really an uphill battle to fix that and get back in the good graces of Google. So that being said, I usually just say stay away from it at all cost. the payoff is not worth it and if there even is a payoff from it. A lot of the times it's not even good quality links. It's usually just like that. A lot of times I've even seen people who have paid for them and they're not even do follow links. They're no follow links, which again, you just paid for nothing at that point. So that being said, if you can leave here with anything today, it's do not buy links for your website. Do not buy links for your domain. If you have already, I'd say don't fret or think, oh no, I messed up. I can't come back from this. You will. I would say there are things you can do and tactics you can do to make sure that you get removed from those websites. I'd recommend doing some research around disavowing links. So disavowing a link through Google Search Console will help signal to Google that you don't want to be linked on those websites. But again, it's just an extra operational headache that you have to go through if you already bought those links. And then finally, as I've mentioned a few times now, do not expect instant results. This takes time. First off, the outreach itself takes time. It's going to be this is a long-term project. If you're wanting to do link building for your website, it's going to be over the course of months that you start seeing the impact of the backlinks. It's not a course of days. So just because, you got one backlink this week, that's not going to have a direct impact on your search performance tomorrow. It really is, like I said, getting a good volume of new backlinks for your website. And then it's going to take time to get those over the course of months. Your domain authority is going to crawl ever so slightly. You're going to be like, oh, I'm hardly seeing any changes. I'm hardly seeing any difference. But that gradual climb in the long term is going to help your website and your brand. I always say that when it comes to things like paid or digital advertising, PPC, those things are much more instant in terms of results. You put money into something, you get results almost immediately from a booking, or like a conversion or a purchase or whatever the case may be. I like to describe SEO as a long-term strategy because it is. You're putting the work in now and investing the time and resources in now to help your brand over the course of years. So I always go into SEO just generally as a strategy with that mindset, and then especially backlink building and link building, because it really is a long-term strategy that if you do it well and you prioritize it early on, it's going to help your brand for years to come by doing this. So yep, that's all I had for the content today. I want to save time here for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put into the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Fantastic, Ryan. Thank you so much, as always, for another wonderful workshop. Folks, feel free to drop questions directly into the chat, or feel free to unmute and you can drop them there. While folks do that, I'm going to drop in the chat a link to some of the previous workshops that we've had with Rex Marketing, as well as some of the upcoming workshops. Feel free to hyperlink the stock, as we'll be updating it with the upcoming RSVPs as they get built. And we also include the recordings from previous sessions. You can go back and see some of the other.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Danny. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. We'll also drop feedback here, so please feel free to share your feedback, and we'll see you for the next workshop.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.